Prior to game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals, I told you that I thought the Knicks would win this series in a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. I said I didn't think that was a very bold prediction, and I'm not going to back off from it now. However, game 3, can I make a case for the hometown Cavaliers? Well, we're going to talk about it here in this video. Cleveland will be a 2.5-point favorite. The total sits at 215.5. And the New York Knickerbockers have won 9 straight games. New York shot 52% from the field in game 2, 36% from beyond the arc. And the Knicks lead the playoffs in field goal percentage. They're hitting 52% from beyond the arc. They're shooting 52% from the field and 36% from beyond the arc. Jalen Brunson, just 19 points in game 2. 3 rebounds, 14 assists. I believe that's the most assists in a playoff game in New York Knicks history, or certainly in recent history. He shot 7 of 16 from the field, 1 of 7 from beyond the arc. But he was getting it done by dishing out the dimes to Josh Hart. Josh Hart carried the team. He scored 26 points, 10 of 21 from the field, 5 of 11 from beyond the arc. And OG Anunoby, just 14 points, 5 of 8 from the field and 2 of 4 from beyond the arc. OG Anunoby is shooting out the lights in the postseason. If you have a look at his shooting percentages, it's incredible. And it's great news for the Knicks that he's back from that hamstring injury. And I got to tell you, the Knicks got to love what they're seeing in the Western Conference Finals. Both these teams, the Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder, have key injuries to starting players, and the Knicks appear to be as healthy as they've been all year. The Knicks are 8-1 against the spread in their last 9 games. Of course, they've won all 9 of those games. They're 3-6 against the spread in their last 9 versus Cleveland, and I'm guessing that means they came into this series 1-6 against the spread in their previous 7 against Cleveland before this series started. So, if Cleveland's going to win a game, it's got to be tonight. Can they get it done? We're going to talk about it, but before we do, let me tell you about a few promotions we have available, and let's take a look at some of the comments on yesterday's video. And I will remind you, anything you got to say to me, any questions, concerns, criticisms, whatever you want to say, please share it with me in the comments below. I love hearing from you. And this guy says, bro, you got a hard job. Good luck to you and your clients the rest of the way. And I think what he's referring to is, I got my ass handed to me yesterday in the NBA with the Western Conference Finals. I'm heavily invested in the Spurs. I felt extremely confident that the Spurs would win game 3 at home. I thought the officials would adjust the way they've been calling this series because fans are getting pissed off about it. I mean, we've seen it all over Twitter, all over social media. But, you know, if you can't handle losing, you're in the wrong business. And when he says it's a hard job, he's right in a way. But I got to admit, I got the best job in the world. I do what I love. I do it every day. Some days are better than others. You know what I did before this job? I was working on the high seas in the same waters that they filmed The Deadliest Catch, working 20-hour days on a fish boat. And that's a hard job. This job, it's a dream job. If you doubt what I'm saying, that's a picture of me right on the British Columbia-Alaska border. Anyways, enough of that. Let's get into the promotions. $999, all access, 365 days. Every single play I put out for 365 days. And it's not even going to hurt my feelings if you think that just because I got my ass kicked yesterday, if you want to use this promotion for any other handicapper, somebody who was won big yesterday, that's fine too. You know, you can grab this at Picks and Parlays, several good handicappers over there. I would caution, though, you don't overreact to the results of one day or 1 week or a small handful of games. That's just not how the professionals do it. If you're not following me on Twitter, you should be at Jesse Schule. Check out the pinned tweet. Now, this is a sample size that you can go to the bank on. Over a decade's worth of winning in the NBA playoffs. Check out the article. Now let's get back to those Cleveland Cavaliers. They lost game 2 by a score of 109-93. The Cavs shot 39% from the field and just 26% from beyond the arc. The Cavs actually had an edge 32-14 in free throw attempts. We talked about that a lot in the previous series versus Detroit. And coming back home for game 3, you think that could be a factor in this game. The Cavs were up 3 after the first quarter, and they were down 4 at halftime. So they were right there for the first 2 quarters of the game in game 2, but New York took over in the third quarter. Donovan Mitchell scored 26 points on 8 of 18 shooting, 2 of 7 from beyond the arc. James Harden, 18 points, 6 of 15 shooting, 3 of 7 from three-point range. James Harden has played a lot better at home in these playoffs, and he's played on the road. And we expect some regression to the mean. You see the shooting percentage for the Cavs, 39% from the field and 26% from beyond the arc. That is well below what we've seen from Cleveland in these playoffs. And regression to the mean, we expect that number to bump up here at home. And particularly when you consider that this Cavs team is 6-1 straight up at home in the playoffs, and they've averaged 115 points per game at home and just 104 points per game on the road in the postseason. If you look at teams in this situation that the Cavs are in, trailing 0-2, heading back home for game 3 in the NBA playoffs, over the last decade, those teams are 36-13-1 against the spread in the first half of game 3. That's 73.5%. And those teams have hit the first half ATS in 64% over the last 2 decades. So teams trailing 0-2, coming back home for game 3, a very strong play in the first half. So we got to keep that in mind. Cleveland is 10-1 straight up in their last 11 home games. The under is 7-1 in the Cavs' last 8 home games against these New York Knicks. We did see a very low-scoring game in game 2. The under is 13-4 in the last 17 head-to-head meetings between these two teams. And I said it's going to be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. I'm going to stand by that, but I'm also going to stand by the fact that Cleveland does play a lot better at home. They're probably going to come out strong here in the first quarter and the first half. That streak kind of speaks for itself, 73.5% over the last 10 years, teams in this situation. I mentioned the scoring. They score 11 points more at home than they do on the road. And if Cleveland's going to get a game in this series, it's going to have to be game 3, because if they lose tonight, they're definitely getting swept in game 4. I shouldn't say definitely, but in my opinion. So yeah, I like Cleveland here. First half, money line, Cleveland minus 140 on the money line for the first half. We're going to ride that trend, 73.5%. If you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. You got anything to say to me, even if it's nasty, hit me up in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.